Everything was quiet until it wasn't. Out of nowhere, a piece of footage tied to NBA Youngboy suddenly exploded across the internet. And within minutes, timelines were flooded, group chats were going crazy, and fans were asking the same question. Where did this come from? And why now? Because what people thought was buried, forgotten, and long gone just came back in the most unexpected way possible. Late last night, multiple anonymous accounts began posting clips that allegedly show unseen moments connected to Youngboy's past, and the internet didn't waste a second reacting. Screenshots started circulating. TikToks began popping up every few seconds. Twitter threads were building faster than anyone could keep up with. But here's where things get even crazier. Some users are claiming this footage isn't new at all. They're saying it's been hidden for years, sitting somewhere deep online, waiting for the right moment to resurface. And now that it has, people are questioning everything they thought they knew about him. Others, they're calling it fake, edited, a setup. But the reactions? Oh, they're very real. Fans are divided. Some are defending him aggressively, saying this is just another attempt to drag his name through the mud. Others are digging deeper, pulling up old interviews, old tweets, and connecting dots that, honestly, no one was paying attention to before. And then came the most chilling part. A so-called insider dropped a message claiming this leak was intentional. Not random, not accidental, but planned. Planned by WHO? That's the question no one can answer yet. Because if this was really orchestrated, then this isn't just a viral moment. This is the beginning of something much bigger. And trust me, what's about to unfold next? Nobody saw it coming. Now things start getting deeper, way deeper than anyone expected. Because to really understand why this moment is hitting so hard right now, you have to go back and look at the journey of NBA Youngboy. A career that has never been normal, never been quiet, and definitely never been free from controversy. From the very beginning, Youngboy built his name off raw emotion, pain, and unfiltered honesty. He wasn't just another rapper trying to chase hits. He was someone who made fans feel like they were living his life with him. Every lyric, every post, every outburst, it all felt real. And that's exactly why people became so invested. But with that level of openness came something else. Something dangerous. Constant scrutiny. See, Youngboy's career didn't just grow, it exploded under pressure. Legal issues, public feuds, relationship drama, house arrest situations. It always felt like something was happening. There was never a calm period, and because of that, fans and critics alike started watching him differently. Not just as an artist, but as a headline waiting to happen. And over time, a pattern began to form. Every time things started going well for him, music charting, numbers going crazy, fans riding heavy, something would suddenly surface. A clip, a rumor, a leaked message, something that would shift the conversation overnight. And now, that pattern is back. But this time, it feels different. Because according to multiple fan investigators online, you get the resurfaced footage that's currently going viral might actually connect to a specific era in his life. A period that, until now, most people barely talked about. We're talking early days, before the mega fame, before the industry fully embraced him, back when everything was more raw, more unpredictable, and way less controlled. And here's where things get interesting. Some users started digging through old archives, deleted Instagram lives, forgotten YouTube uploads, random repost accounts, and they claim they found pieces of this exact footage years ago. Not the full clip, but fragments. Tiny glimpses that didn't seem important at the time. Until now. Now those same fragments are being reshared, side by side with the viral clip, with captions like, "Y'all missed this the first time." This been out, nobody paid attention. This ain't new, it's just finally blowing up. And suddenly, the narrative starts shifting. Because if this footage really has been floating around unnoticed, then the real question becomes, why is it going viral now? That's where things start getting messy. Some fans believe this is all timing. They're pointing out how Youngboy has been trending again recently. New music buzz, renewed attention, bigger conversations around his influence. And in the entertainment world, timing like that is never random. Others think it's something more personal. There are whispers, unconfirmed, but spreading fast, that someone close to him might have had access to old material. Someone who knew exactly what they had, and exactly when to release it. And if that's true, this isn't just a random leak. This is strategy. But wait, it gets even more intense. Because while all of this is happening, something else started surfacing. Old interviews where Youngboy talked about trust, betrayal, and people around him switching up. At the time, those interviews felt like normal artist talk. You know, the usual stay loyal type messages. But now, people are replaying those clips with a completely different perspective. They're saying things like, he was warning us. He Ben knew something like this could happen. This ain't his first time getting betrayed. And just like that, the story evolves again. It's no longer just about a viral clip. Now it's about who leaked it, why they leaked it, and what else might still be out there. Meanwhile, his fan base is going into full defense mode. Hardcore supporters are flooding comment sections, reporting posts, trying to shut down accounts that are spreading the footage. They're calling it fake, edited, out of context, anything to protect his image. But the internet, it doesn't slow down. If anything, it moves faster. Reaction videos start popping up. Influencers begin giving their takes. Smaller blogs start turning it into headlines. And before you know it, what started as a few reposts turns into a full-blown online storm. And right in the middle of all this chaos, one post changes everything. A now viral thread appears from an account claiming to have direct knowledge of the situation. Not just speculation, not just guesses, but actual insight into where the footage came from. The thread starts simple. Almost too simple. This ain't random. This was planned. And instantly, now people lock in. Because if that statement is true, then everything we've seen so far, it's just the beginning. The thread goes on to hint at a bigger situation. Something involving old connections, unresolved issues, and what they call unfinished business. No names are dropped. No direct proof is shown. But the tone? Confident. Too confident. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because now, the conversation isn't just about Youngboy anymore, it's about a possible setup, a coordinated move, a situation that could go way beyond just one viral clip. And as more people start paying attention, as more theories start forming, as more evidence begins circulating, one thing becomes very clear. This story isn't slowing down anytime soon. In fact, it's about to get a lot worse. Because what happens next? It doesn't just raise questions, it flips the entire narrative upside down. And this is where everything completely spirals out of control. Because just when people thought they had seen the worst of it, the full situation finally started unfolding. And what came out next didn't just shock fans, it divided the entire internet. Within hours of that mysterious thread going viral, new clips began surfacing. Longer versions, different angles, slowed down edits, each one claiming to prove something bigger than the last. And suddenly, this wasn't just one viral moment anymore. This turned into a full-blown digital investigation. People were analyzing every frame, pausing, zooming, enhancing audio, comparing backgrounds, even matching clothing from old photos of NBA Youngboy to try and confirm timelines. And then, someone found something. A user posted a side-by-side comparison, one from the resurfaced footage and another from an old, nearly forgotten live stream clip. At first glance, it looked normal, but then they pointed out a small detail. Something in the background. Same room, same setup, same time period, and just like that, the internet lost it. Because if those clips were really connected, then this wasn't some random, edited, out-of-context video. This was real. Or at least, that's what people started believing. And belief spreads faster than facts. Within minutes, hashtags started trending. Reaction accounts jumped in. Even people who had nothing to do with Youngboy suddenly had opinions. Some were laughing, some were confused, others were straight up attacking him. But then came the first major twist. A leaked DM conversation began circulating. Now nobody could confirm if it was real, but that didn't stop it from spreading like wildfire. The messages allegedly showed someone close to Youngboy warning him about old footage being used against him. Not just that, but hinting that someone had been holding onto it for a long time, waiting for the right moment. One line in particular stood out. "They've been sitting on this, just waiting till you back on top." And that right there, that changed everything. Because now the narrative flipped completely. This wasn't just embarrassing footage going viral, this was starting to look like a setup, a calculated move, a hit. And fans? They picked sides instantly. On one side, you had people saying, "This proves it's real. He got caught. Simple. Ain't no setup, that's just damage control." But on the other side, yeah, they trying to destroy him. This industry move not random. Y'all falling for it again. The divide was getting uglier by the second, and then it got personal. Because out of nowhere, an influencer, someone who had previously been linked to Youngboy's circle, went live. No warning, no build-up, just straight into it. At first, they acted like they didn't want to say much. You know how it goes? Pausing, sighing, reading comments. But then, after a few minutes, they dropped a line that made the entire chat freeze. Y'all really think this just popped up out of nowhere? And instantly, everyone knew. They knew something. Or at least, they were about to act like they did. They started hinting carefully about people from the past, old friendships, fallouts that never got fixed. They didn't say names, but the way they spoke, it was enough to make people start guessing. And once people start guessing, there's no stopping it. Names started trending. Old associates were getting dragged into the conversation. People who hadn't even been mentioned suddenly found themselves at the center of accusations. And all of this from one resurfaced clip. But then came the moment that pushed everything over the edge. Another account, this one claiming to be an insider, posted what they called a timeline, a full breakdown of events. According to them, the footage didn't just randomly exist. It was recorded during a specific time, stored by a specific person, and recently passed around between multiple individuals before finally leaking publicly. Again, no proof. But the detail, way too specific. And people ate it up. They began connecting dots, building theories, creating entire narratives based on bits and pieces that may or may not have been real. And in the middle of all this chaos, Youngboy himself? Silent. No posts, no statements, nothing. And that silence? It only made things worse because now people weren't just reacting to the footage. They were reacting to the lack of response. Why he quiet? If it's fake, why not say something? This silence telling me everything. The pressure was building. The speculation was growing. And just when it felt like things couldn't get more intense, another twist dropped. A short clip, allegedly recorded after the viral footage, surfaced online. In it, a voice that many claimed sounded like Youngboy could be heard saying something that people immediately interpreted as a reaction to the situation. The audio was unclear. The context was missing. But that didn't matter, because once people think they hear something, it becomes truth to them. And just like that, the story escalated again. Now it wasn't just about what was seen, it was about what was said, and whether it confirmed everything people were already starting to believe. At this point, the internet wasn't even asking if it was real anymore. They were asking, who did this to him? Because whether you believed the footage or not, one thing was obvious: this wasn't random chaos. This felt targeted, calculated, timed, and as more pieces started falling into place, as more voices joined the conversation, as more pressure built around the situation, one terrifying possibility started gaining traction. What if this wasn't the only thing? What if there was more footage, more leaks, more secrets, still waiting to drop. Because if this was just the first wave, then what comes next might be even worse. And just when it felt like the situation had already reached its peak, that's when everything exploded into a completely different level. Because now, this wasn't just fans arguing anymore. This wasn't just random accounts posting theories. This had officially entered the celebrity zone. Out of nowhere, subtle reactions started popping up from people connected, directly or indirectly, to NBA Youngboy. No one was saying his name directly, but the timing, way too perfect. One artist tweeted, "Funny how old things pop up when you leveling up." Another posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Truth don't need defending. It exposes itself." And instantly the internet did what it does best. They connected it to Youngboy. Now whether those posts were actually about him or not didn't matter anymore, because once the audience believes it is, that becomes the narrative. And the narrative? It was spiraling fast. Within hours, blogs started picking it up. Not mainstream yet, but those mid-level gossip pages that thrive on chaos. Oh, they were feasting on this. Headlines started popping up like, "Resurfaced footage sparks debate around Youngboy's past." Fans divided after viral clip raises questions. Was this leak planned? Internet thinks. So? And just like that, this wasn't just social media drama anymore, this was becoming a story. But then came the moment that flipped everything again. Because someone, no one knows exactly who, dropped what they claimed were receipts. Screenshots, audio snippets, fragments of conversations, all packaged together and uploaded in a thread that quickly started gaining traction. The account behind it claimed they had been sitting on this information for months, watching, waiting, and now decided it was time to let the truth out. Now, here's the crazy part. The receipts didn't just focus on the footage. They introduced a whole new angle. According to these alleged leaks, this situation wasn't just about embarrassing content going viral. It was about a fallout behind the scenes. A fallout involving someone who once had access. Someone who, according to the thread, felt cut off, disrespected, and owed. And if that's true, then this wasn't just exposure. This was revenge. The thread hinted at private disagreements, broken trust, and what they described as a moment that changed everything. Again, no names, and no direct confirmations. But the tone? Detailed, confident, and just believable enough to pull people in. Suddenly, fans weren't just looking at the footage anymore. They were trying to figure out who had access to it, who could have leaked it, who had a reason to do it now. And that's when things got messy. Really messy. Because multiple names started getting thrown around. Producers, former friends, people from his early days. Anyone who had ever been close enough to possibly have something like this. And the more names that got mentioned, the more chaotic things became. Meanwhile, reaction videos were going crazy. YouTubers, streamers, TikTok commentators, they all jumped in, each with their own theory, each claiming they had new info, each adding fuel to the fire. Some were saying, this is clearly a setup, or too coordinated. Others were like, y'all reaching, this just looks bad, simple. But then, another twist, a big one. Because while all this speculation was happening, an old clip resurfaced. An interview from years ago where Youngboy talked about people around him switching up, saying, sometimes the ones closest to you be the ones watching you the hardest. At the time, it sounded like a generic statement, but now it hit different. People started reposting it everywhere, captioning it, "He tried to warn us. He knew something was coming. This ain't coincidence." And just like that, the narrative shifted again. Now it wasn't just about the footage or even the alleged leak. It was about betrayal. And betrayal stories? They hit harder than anything. Yeah, but just when it seemed like the internet had settled on that theory, another shocking development dropped. A second account, completely separate from the first, came forward, claiming they had even more content. Not released yet, not public, but ready. They posted a simple message. This ain't the only clip. That's it. No proof, no preview. Just that one line. And somehow, that was enough to send people into a frenzy. Because now, the fear wasn't just about what had already leaked. It was about what could still leak. Fans started panicking. Defenders became louder. Critics became harsher. And the entire situation reached a point where nobody knew what was real anymore. But everyone had an opinion. And right in the middle of all this, still no response. No post, no denial, no clarification from Youngboy. And that silence, it started feeling heavier than anything else. Because at this stage, even a single word could shift the entire narrative. But nothing came. And that's when one final detail, small but powerful, started circulating. Someone noticed that a few accounts that originally posted the footage had suddenly gone private. Or disappeared completely. Deleted. Gone. No explanation. And that raised a terrifying question. Were they told to take it down? Or did they realize they went too far? Because if people are suddenly disappearing from the conversation, then maybe, just maybe, there's something deeper going on behind the scenes. Something bigger than just a viral moment. Something that hasn't fully revealed itself yet. And if that's true, then what we've seen so far might just be the surface. And now, this is where everything turns into complete and total chaos. Because once the situation reached this level, there was no controlling it anymore. The internet didn't just react, it erupted. Every platform, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, was flooded with debates, reactions, breakdowns, and straight-up arguments about NBA Youngboy. It didn't matter where you went. You were going to see it. And the craziest part? Nobody could agree on anything. One side of the internet was completely defending him. No hesitation, no doubt, no questions asked. These clips don't prove anything. This clearly edited, y'all just want him to fall. Every time he ups, something mysteriously leaks. They weren't just defending him, they were going to war for him. Mass reporting posts, calling out accounts, and even accusing entire pages of being part of some coordinated attempt to destroy his reputation. But on the other side, it was the exact opposite. Y'all can't keep excusing everything. This ain't normal. Stop acting blind just because you a fan. And just like that, the internet split into two completely different realities. And once that happens, there's no middle ground anymore. People weren't even having conversations. They were arguing, attacking, exposing, and dragging each other nonstop. Friendships online? Gone. Fan bases? At war? Comment sections? Absolute chaos. But then, it escalated even further. Because now bigger voices started stepping in. Not directly naming him, but again, the timing said everything. A well-known podcast host made a vague comment during a live stream. Sometimes, and when something resurfaces, it's not about what it is, it's about when it shows up. Immediately clipped, immediately reposted, immediately tied to the situation. Then a popular influencer tweeted, "I'm not picking sides, but if something keeps following you, maybe it ain't random." That tweet alone? Over 100,000 likes and hours, and of course, people connected it straight back to Youngboy. Now, whether these people were actually talking about him or not didn't matter anymore because once the internet decides a narrative, it sticks. And that narrative, it was getting darker. Because now, discussions weren't just about the footage or the leak anymore, they started shifting into something deeper. His image, his past, his pattern. Old controversies started getting dragged back up. Clips from years ago resurfaced. Moments that had nothing to do with this situation suddenly got pulled into the conversation like evidence. And suddenly, it felt like everything he had ever done was being re-examined under a microscope. This ain't the first time. Y'all forgot about this? He'd been moving weird. Whether those claims were fair or not. Didn't matter, because once people start stacking narratives together, it becomes a bigger story than the truth itself. Meanwhile, fan pages were working overtime trying to push a different message. This is a distraction. Focus on the music, not this nonsense. Y'all falling into a trap. They were trying to shift attention away from the controversy, but it wasn't working, because at this point, the controversy was the story. And then came something that made things even more intense. Media outlets, small ones at first, started covering it. Nothing official, nothing confirmed, but headlines like, "Viral clip sparks heated debate around Youngboy's image." "Internet divided over resurfaced footage." Once media gets involved, that's when it becomes real. Because now it's not just social media noise, like it's documented, it's archived, it's searchable. And that means one thing. This moment isn't disappearing anytime soon. But just when it felt like things couldn't get any louder, they did. Because a fake audio reaction started circulating, again, unconfirmed, but allegedly featuring someone from Youngboy's extended circle reacting to the situation. The audio sounded emotional and are frustrated, almost panicked. The lines like, "Y'all don't even know the half of it. This ain't supposed to be out." And just like that, the fear level went up, because now people weren't just reacting to what they saw, they were reacting to what they thought might still be hidden. And once that idea enters the conversation, it changes everything. Now the question wasn't, is this real? The question became, what else is out there? And that question, nobody could answer. But it didn't stop people from trying. Theories got wilder, speculation got deeper, and the entire situation turned into something way bigger than anyone expected. At this point, it wasn't even about facts anymore. It was about perception. And perception was completely out of control. But right when it seemed like the internet had reached its breaking point, when every opinion had already been said, when every theory had already been posted, something unexpected happened. Something nobody was ready for. Because after all the silence, after all the chaos, after all the speculation, there were whispers that a response might finally be coming. Not a tweet, not a post, but something bigger, something direct, something that could either shut everything down or make it 10 times worse. And if that response really happens, then everything we've seen so far is about to change again. And just when the internet thought it had already seen everything, that's when the final twist hit, and nobody was ready for it. Yeah, because after days of silence, after watching the chaos unfold, after letting the internet completely spiral out of control, something finally happened involving NBA Youngboy. Not a tweet, not a caption, not even a direct statement, but something way more calculated. Late at night, when most people thought the situation had already peaked, a short clip surfaced. Not from a random account, not from a fan page, from a source that people believed was directly connected to him. And in that clip, there was no explanation, no denial, no apology, just one line. Calm, controlled, almost emotionless. "Y'all really believe anything y'all see?" That's it. No context, no follow-up. Just that. And within minutes, everything flipped again. Because now people didn't know how to interpret it. Was he denying it? Was he mocking the situation? Was he indirectly confirming something? Or was this just him playing into the chaos? The internet didn't hesitate. Debates exploded instantly. That's a denial. No, that's deflection. He laughing at y'all. He trying to brush it off. Every side took that one line and turned it into their own version of the truth. And just when you thought that was the twist, it got worse. Because not long after that clip started going viral, the original thread, the one that started everything with those receipts, deleted, gone. No explanation, no follow-up, no archived version. Just completely wiped. And that right there, that scared people. Because when something disappears like that, especially after gaining so much attention, it makes people wonder, did they get exposed or were they silenced? And suddenly, the entire story shifted again. And now it wasn't just about the footage. It wasn't just about the alleged leak. Now it was about something bigger. Control. People started questioning everything. Why delete it now? Who told them to take it down? Was any of it even real to begin with? And just like that, the narrative fractured into even more pieces. Some believed the deletion proved everything was fake, that the person behind the thread got caught lying and ran. Others believed the opposite, that the thread was too real and someone stepped in to shut it down before things went too far. And honestly, nobody could prove either side. But the uncertainty? That's what made it dangerous. Because confusion spreads faster than facts. And right in the middle of all this, more rumors started surfacing. Whispers that legal teams might be getting involved, to claims that certain accounts were being monitored. Even talk that more content, possibly worse than what had already surfaced, was being held back, waiting just in case. And if that's true, then this situation is far from over. Because what happens when one leak doesn't hit the way someone expected? You drop another, and another, and another, until the damage is irreversible. But here's the part nobody can ignore. Even after everything, even after all the chaos, all the debates, all the accusations, nothing has been confirmed, not officially, not directly, and yet the impact already massive. Because whether people believe it or not, the conversation has already changed. The perception has already shifted. And once that happens, it's almost impossible to fully reverse it. But the most chilling part of all this isn't what we've seen. Yeah, and it's what we haven't seen. Because if even a small part of these rumors are true, if even one of those insiders actually knows more than they're saying, then this entire situation is just the beginning. And whatever comes next might not just go viral, it might completely redefine everything people thought they knew. So now the real question is, was this a one-time explosion or the first move in something much bigger? Because one thing is clear, this story is not over. And now, after everything you just saw, everything you just heard, I need you to be real with me for a second. Because this situation, it's not simple. It's not black and white. And it definitely isn't over. So I want to know your take. Do you think NBA Youngboy is being targeted? Or do you think this whole situation is exactly what it looks like? Was that clip taken out of context? Or is there something deeper that hasn't fully come out yet? And be honest, because the internet right now is completely split. Some people are writing for him no matter what. Others are saying this changes everything. But you? Where do you stand? Drop your opinion in the comments right now. I'm reading everything, and trust me, this conversation is far from over. And don't just comment. Hit that like button if you made it all the way through, because you already know, not everyone stays locked in this long unless the story is really crazy. And if you want more content like this, real-time updates, breaking drama, twists nobody else is talking about, make sure you subscribe and turn notifications on. Because if another clip drops, if another insider comes forward, if anything new happens in this situation, you already know I'm going to break it down fast. And the next update might be even bigger than this one. So stay ready. Because this story, it's just getting started.